This meeting.
Okay. From yesterday class, we discussed about how do we do NAT. We have seen labs on what is a static NAT, what is a dynamic NAT, and what is a PAT or NAT overload. And then we talked about NTP. In NTP, we have seen what is a stratum and how does the time synchronization happen between different clocks. And then that will help to have the synchronization between the routers and the switches inside the company. So any questions from our previous class?
No, sir.
Okay, now let's do a simple lab on NTP. Make sure that we have a time synchronization happening for our devices, and then we will move on to the next topic. Okay, so I'm going to start the lab on NTP. I'm going to take a simple router, and then I'm going to take a single server which can run the NTP. Started that. I'm going to define an IP address. .39.39.39.1, 55.55.55.0. So I configure this IP. 39.39.39.1, and this server IP 39.39.39.39. Let's configure that. .39.39.39.39, 55.55.55.0. And the default gateway will be 39.39.39.1. Okay, and on this server, let's go to services and then go to NTP. NTP service needs to off and then do on. And the time today is 19th, and then the time is here. So now let's check the show clock. It says March 1st, 1993. So this is a wrong date. So now this router should be talking to this NTP server and should get the time synchronized with the stratum value of 2, because this is our stratum value 1, and this one should be synchronized to stratum value 2. I'm going to go here and then do config terminal NTP server, and the IP of the server is 39.39.39.39. Okay, if you do show NTP status, it says clock is unsynchronized and the stratum value is 16. So clock is not synchronized yet. It takes time for the clock to synchronize. You can also do show NTP associations. So it says address 39.39.39.39, but it is not synchronized yet. It will try to see the sync, because if the star mark is there, we'll be seeing the peer synchronized, but it is not associated yet. So I think it does take 5 or 6 minutes. Sometimes it almost takes 10 minutes to get synchronized. So we have to wait for that to synchronize. So, but you keep see, I mean, you can see this clock is unsynchronized and the stratum value is 16, which is the maximum stratum value. That means the clock is not reachable yet. The NTP server is not reachable yet. So we have to wait until it gets synchronized. Now it's showing the reference time is 00, and then it's Jan 1st, 1990, which is the wrong time. So let's wait for a couple of minutes. Let it unsynchronized. Okay, if you observe, now the clock says Friday, January 19, 2024. So now let's check the status. Now the clock is still unsynchronized. Okay. Let's get it synchronized. But if you see the clock was today, it got changed to this time. Today date. Earlier it was something like 1993, somewhere like that, earlier clock. But now it got the right time on this box. It is trying to sync. And the time got updated, guys. But still shows unsynchronized. So let's give it 2 more minutes and then see whether it gets syncs or not. If it is not getting updated in 2 more minutes, we will move to a different topic, but we'll come back and check a little bit later and then see whether the sync time got synced or not. Let's give a couple more minutes.
Sir, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sir, why does it say stratum 16?
Stratum 16 means that it is trying to reach the NTP server, and if it's unreachable, the maximum stratum value is 16. So
Okay,
the stratum value higher means the NTP server is like far away, correct?
Far away, yes.
If it was 16 means that it is not able to reach. The maximum stratum value is 16. It has no reference clock.
Okay, so it has like that much depth to the levels it is going to through the devices.
No, I mean it's not able to reach. That's why it says stratum 16.
Okay, so is it a fixed value in such scenario
When it's
that
not
it
reachable, 16 is the maximum value that it cannot reach the NTP server.
Okay, thank you.
Usually it should show NTP associations. Yeah, let's come back and then check whether it gets synced or not. But let's move to a different topic. But now you understood the concept anyway, right? So you have to create, and so if you have to check show run NTP, you build NTP server, and on the NTP server itself, on the services you have to turn on the NTP, and then you have to select the date and time. That way. For example, let's say now you are seeing the show clock. You are seeing January 19 today date Friday. On the NTP server, you can go ahead and change that date to tomorrow. I changed it to 20. So now let's see show clock. So NTP should be updated on this one, right? So show NTP associations. It should be updated now. Also show NTP status. Yeah, it has to get updated from the NTP server that. Yeah, so show clock. Yeah, let's give it a couple of minutes and then we'll see. It should be changed to Jan20 because we changed the date on the NTP server. We'll come back and check that. I'm going to move to the next topic, but we will keep this lab running. Let's save this one.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, if it did reach the NTP server, then what would the stratum value be? 2 or
2.
2, right? Okay.
Okay, we'll come back and check that. Let's move on to the next topic, SNMP. Whiteboard. You're able to see my whiteboard, right?
Yes.
Okay. SNMP is simple network management protocol. Okay. So SNMP is like an application that is used for the network devices to collect, to send the data to a specific station where we can identify what happened on the device. Meaning, like, let's say there is a router or a physical device, like a switch or a router. Let's say we have a router. On that specific router, there is a specific interface. Let's say the specific interface went down. Okay, something happened on the router, and that specific interface went down. And someone connected to this router, like a PC, complained that they cannot connect to the network. But this is like an after effect, because the user already had an issue. They are complaining to the network team that something is happening, they are unable to connect to the internet or something. But we as a network engineers, we should be knowing that before the user telling us and opening a ticket. So we will configure the router to send the trap to a server, where whenever there is an interface go down, whenever there is a high CPU, whenever OSPF went down, EIGRP went down, or BGP went down, any routing protocol go down, or this router having a issue with physical layer, like a cable is bad, a port is bad, that information will be sent to the server. This server will keep on gathering the data, where this one will be called as the network management station. So this network management station will try to collect the data for all the devices which are running SNMP. Okay, so whichever devices that are running on the SNMP in the network, they will send the data to the network management station, and this network management station will keep collecting the data of the users, and it will report to the engineers or the help desk teams who are monitoring the network. Instead of users complaining that something went wrong and they opening the ticket, we will be doing the proactive work and make sure that we are aware of the issue before user started complaining, so that we will take immediate action that, okay, this router went down, this router interface went down, we have to do something like do shut, no shut, or check the configuration or check the resources on the router to make sure we bring this back up, and then we let the PC connect to the internet. So in this case, here the router that is running on the SNMP is called agent. The server that is collecting the data is called network management station, where you will collect all the traps from. So that is the concept of SNMP, where SNMP will be useful for collecting the data, so that we as network engineers will be aware of what is happening in the network without end users telling us. Okay, any questions, guys? Okay, let's go ahead and check our NTP. Stop share. So earlier we are seeing show clock as today date. Were you able to see my screen, or is it looping? Okay, let me stop share. Just want to make sure. Okay. So earlier we were seeing show clock. It is showing January 19th. We changed that to tomorrow date, Jan 20th. So let's do show clock. It says Saturday, January 28th. And earlier it's showing the status value of 16. Now let's do show NTP status. It says clock is synchronized. The stratum value is 2. 39 to 39 to 39 to 39. So earlier it was showing the stratum value of 16, no reference clock. But now stratum value of 2, 39 to 39 to 39 is our NTP server. Okay. So that is the use case of NTP where it will get the clock synchronized, and whatever the time we change on the NTP server, that will be pushed to all the network devices. That way NTP will be updated. Okay. Any questions, guys? Okay. All right. Let's move on to the SNMP. So SNMP has 3 versions, guys. So basically SNMP helps us to improve in terms of their versions, because basically the first SNMP does not have security included. So any server can send any router can be able to send the logs to the network management station without any authentication. So that is the SNMP version 1. So let me write it down. No password to login for NMS to the routers or switches, or no encryption of data. Anyone can capture the data in the middle and then they can read the SNMP messages. So that is the first version, and then SNMP version 2 came. In this version, it's an upgrade. Also, let's say I forgot to add a point. So let's say you have a router. And this router is connected to server, which is the NMS server. And then you have a router here, which is the agent. Okay. So let's say this router got 4 or 5 traps. In version 1, a router used to send the trap 1, trap 2, trap 3, like that, single messages to the SNMP server. But they don't have an option of bulk update. In SNMP version 2, they can send multiple traps in a single message. So they added the option of bulk update. And also they added the username password to log in. Username and password for logging in. But no encryption. So SNMP version 3 is little advanced. I mean, most advanced. So here bulk update is there. There is also concept of encryption here. There is also concept of logging in with username, password, which is nothing but authentication. Username, password. And also SNMP version 3 also does help communities. And what is communities? Meaning you can put users into groups. Like for example, you can do role-based access. So one user can only retrieve the information and one can also make changes. For example, this interface went down on this router. From SNMP server, you can also send some configuration to try to bring this interface back up on the router. So you can also make some role-based accesses like read-only access, read-write access that can also be done on the SNMP version 3, which is not there in SNMP version 2 and SNMP version 1. So again, SNMP version 1 is the oldest version. No encryption, no password, no bulk updates. SNMP version 2 has bulk updates feature. Authentication is there, but encryption is not there, and no communities is also role-based access is not there. SNMP version 3 does have all the features. It has password like authentication, bulk updates, encryption, community-based authentication with read-only, read-write separations like role-based access. Any questions on SNMP, guys? Any questions, guys, on SNMP?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, then we'll go to the Syslog. Syslog is like a log collector. For example, every router, every switch will have a buffer, like a memory that it can handle only some amount of logs that what happened on the device. Let's say there is an interface. Like on the router, this router has like an interface, which is critical interface. And someone in my team, they did like no shut on the interface. They wanted to do it on interface 1, but unexpectedly they did on the interface 2. Okay, so they brought outage to the company. Let's say that interface is connected to one of the core server. Okay, let's say that interface is connected to one of the core server, which is running our employee data. Okay, some employee did, instead of shutting down the interface, interface 1, they shut down the interface 2. Okay, and that caused an outage, which is like, let's say they shut down on last week. There was a 2 minutes outage. They saw that they shut down the interface 2. They thought they did a mistake. They immediately do no shut. They brought up the server back again online. But our business is complaining that something happened. Our server lost the access. All of our users were not able to access that server at that specific period of time. Let's say they were not able to do it on January 1st, 2024, 11 a.m. We had an outage. But this router will not have the capacity to store all the logs. Those logs will be erased off from the router by default. Some buffers may take off for every 24 hours. Some buffers may take off for every 3 days. Some buffers may take off for every 1 week. But because this happened 18 days back, the router will not have the capacity to check who did that. So to know that, the router will keep on sending the logs to a server called Syslog server, system log server. So this is a log collector for entire company. So whatever the logs that the routers are generating, they will be stored in these servers for 90 days to 6 months. Depends on the storage capacity of the server. So if I wanted to check what happened on January 1st, I will log into the Syslog server and then filter for this router IP, and then I can check who did what on that specific server with the accounting log. Okay, I can check, okay, someone named Julio logged into this system, and then he did shut down the interface 2 that caused the outage. And then we can, tell the user that, okay, it's a human error. Someone in my team did that. See, people will try to hide from mistakes. So we might not know whether Julio will come forward and tell that he did a mistake. If he is hiding something, we have a source of truth here where we can do the RCA, root cause analysis. So Syslog will help us to do the root cause analysis to identify what happened on the network device, what happened on specific time frame. That is the help of the Syslog. So any questions on Syslog, guys?
Sir, it's like tracking the user activity, right?
Yes, that is one use case, but there are different use cases. For example, let's say this router has a critical high CPU, like it went 99%. Let's say on January 1st, there is a high volume of traffic and this router was not able to handle all the requests. Then we can tell that, okay, on that day, what happened? We can check to the system logs and then we identify what happened at specific time frame and we can see high CPU sitting. That's why server is like going down. So not only the user activity, it can also check the system activity as well.
Sir, it has any time frame or how many years back data we can retrieve from that?
I just wrote it down here, right? Depends on the Syslog
Okay.
capacity. It can
Fine.
go from 90 days to 180 days.
Sorry, sir, I did not realize it. Sorry.
Yeah.
And sir, how often does it logs the activity?
There is a polling interval that you can change, but by default, you will see the logs being sent for every 5 seconds to every 1 minute. Depends on your interval, polling interval.
Okay.
Okay, there are different Syslog levels. So in Syslog, there are different levels. So every log cannot be the same, right? We have to have some kind of separation so that we will know what is critical log, what is not critical log, what is informational log. There are different log levels that need to be identified so that it will be easy for the user to understand what is happening on what. Okay, and there are 7 levels. Well, 0 to 7 levels, total 8 levels. Let's write what are those 8 levels are. So 0, that will be emergency log. Like system is unstable kind of log. One log level 1. Alert. Immediate action required. And then critical. System is in critical condition. And then error event. There is a error condition. Warnings. There is warning, but nothing major. Notification for notifying user. Informational for user education or help. debug for debugging the protocols. Yeah, so these are the numbers that are given to the specific condition of the log. For example, let's say an interface went down, right? You will see something like, you will see like this, like Jan19. Let's say today morning at 8 a.m. and it will say like line proto, and then it will say the number, which is a notification 5. It says up down, and then it will say line protocol on that specific interface. Let's say interface fast Ethernet (0/0), change it from up to down. So we will know that, okay. So on this time frame, 5 is the notification syslog, the interface went up and down. So based on the number, we will see, okay, it's a notification message that an interface went up and down. So that is how a syslog will look like on the syslog server. You can identify, okay, you can filter for the specific value. If you are looking for critical logs, you can filter for the critical logs with the number 2. If you are filtering for the alerts, you will filter for the number 1. That's how you can grep and filter it. Okay. So in our example, the message was severity 5, like which is a notification event. Okay, so it is like a notification to the user that an interface went down, that we have to take into the account consideration. Okay. Any questions on syslog, guys? Any questions, guys?
No, sir.
Okay. Let's talk about the file transfer. Next topic. These are all small topics, guys. Just like the services topics. So it shouldn't take that long to understand these topics. So next topic is FTP and TFTP, which is a file transfer protocol. So as the name itself says, file transferring. So basically networking is all about connectivity, right? We will see people in the team or in the company, they want to share files between them. If you don't have like a Google Drive, or if you don't have like an SharePoint, like those kind of internet websites, you cannot share the files, right? What you have to do, you have to use a pen drive that you can copy the file, and then you can send that physical device to the other computer, and then you can copy that file. But in networking, you don't need that, right? Because you are a network engineer, you can do connectivity using an application. So you can send the files with an application which is called FTP. So you will have a PC here, and then you will have a switch or router that is connecting. Then you will have a like a server, file server. So let's say you have a PC, and then you have, let's say, a router, Then you have a file server, FTP server. Again, let's say there's like 39.39.39.39. So you can, let's say you have a file from here on the FTP server, you have a file and you can use that file to send that to the PC, or you can download the PC directly from the FTP server. So file transfer, like it's like a client server architecture. You will have this as your client and this as the server, where you can use the server to copy the files. So why it is really used as a network engineer? Why do we need this? So let's say this router wants an image to upgrade or downgrade the software image on the router. So you will copy the image to the FTP server, and from this FTP server you can copy that image to the router boot flash, where you can use that image to upgrade the device. So let's say your phone wants an software upgrade. It will say that you have to have internet connection or Wi-Fi to do the software upgrade. Similarly, in your network, if your router does not have the internet connection, you will copy the image to the FTP server, and the FTP server will send the image to the. You can copy that image to the router with the help of the FTP server. So router will contact to the FTP server. And why it is needed, guys? So if your networks are secured, like your routers, your devices, they want it to be separate from the internet, right? So we wanted them to be as secure as possible. Then we will use this kind of methodology. So we will have an internet file that is safe. We will load that internet file to the FTP server in a Bastion zone or a DMZ zone or external zones, and you will apply. From here, you can copy that to the router with safely, securely. That is the concept of FTP. So FTP can use to transfer the images to the routers. Okay. And FTP has a port called 21, which is like an active FTP. And there is other FTPs like passive FTP, which we really don't want to discuss here. But it is like another FTP where it uses a higher range of ports. There are different sessions how it manages. We don't have it in the syllabus and we don't really use them, so don't worry about it. And then there is a concept called TFTP, Trivial File Transfer Protocol, TFTP. So the biggest difference between the TFTP and FTP is, if the PC wants to talk to the FTP server, there should be a username and password to contact. But TFTP does not need any username password. It can directly talk, which is not secure at all. So TFTP is very old. So even though it does do the send and receiving the files, but there is no security, there is no user login, right? So there is no password. But FTP does the username and password to log into the FTP server to gather the file to the router or PC. On the other hand, there is another protocol, but the downside of FTP is it does not have the encryption. So if anyone can capture the data in the middle, they can read the content of the file, which is really bad. So that's why there is a concept called SFTP, Secure File Transfer Protocol. So here the data is encrypted end to end. So either in your network you will use SFTP or FTP, but you will not use both. Okay. You will not use TFTP because TFTP is not secure. It's not recommended. So no one recommends you to use TFTP. But either you can use SFTP or FTP to copy the data. FTP is with username, password. You can log into the device. SFTP will be helping you do the encryption of the data.
Hi, sir. Does router have any memory?
Router will have the memory that is called flash memory, boot flash memory or flash memory. That's where you will copy the image, correct? But it is limited, guys. It is not like router has like it will have a limited memory, not unlimited memory, where you can put some files in it.
Sir, what will be the port numbers for the other protocols?
SFTP port is 22. Okay, FTP port is 21. And TFTP does use multiple ports in the old version, the new version, but the the port it uses 69. The later it changed it to 69. So SFTP 22 secure, FTP 21. Hold on, I think let me double check the FTP port. Yeah, 21. Yes, FTP is 21, SFTP is 22, TFTP is 69. These are the port numbers.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. All right, guys. Any questions from the topics? We have seen NTP lab. We have seen SNMP. We discussed about SNMP versions, SNMP version 1, SNMP version 2, SNMP version 3. We discussed Syslog. We discussed levels of security in the Syslog. And we discussed the file transfer protocols like FTP, DFTP, and SFTP. Any questions on these topics, guys? Okay. Akhila Mehta, what is a stratum?
It has a maximum value of 16.
That is not what a stratum is. Anirudh Reddy, what is stratum?
It's an atomic clock which we have worldwide.
No, that is not what a stratum is. Pranit, what is stratum?
What is a
Stratum.
No, sir. I'm not
Bhavana,
getting
what
it.
is stratum? Diksha, what is stratum?
Stratum value uh, is a constant value 0 that is maintained for all atomic clocks. Universal time will be based on it.
Okay, but what is stratum? Mahita, what is stratum?
Like a level, we can say, like how far it is from the main server or from the
Yeah,
primary.
correct.
node.
So how many hops it is away from the source to reach the NTP server? If it is like 1 hop away, it is called atomic clock, right? You are directly talking to the atomic clock. The atomic clock stratum value is 0. So stratum is nothing but how many hops away you are getting the time from. That is stratum. Okay. Moulika, what is SNMP and why it is used?
Hello. So, hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can I hear the question, please?
What is SNMP and why it is used?
SNMP is a network management system. So, sorry. So,
It's okay, we'll move on. Pranay, what is SNMP and why it is used?
Yeah, SNMP is basically a simple network management protocol. It is used to network management, like it's monitoring the device on the network. Like if any of the router, if any of the PC wants to connect with the router, if it's failed, then router will send the uh, port issues or cable issues to the server. Then if there is any tickets has been raised in the server, we have to resolve that.
Yeah, so there is a trap. It is called trap that will be sent from the router to the NMS, network management station, where it will collect all the traps, right? And okay, Rama Devi, what is the difference between SNMP version 2 and SNMP version 3?
Sir, SM version 2 Bulldog updates username, password for the logins, no encryption, no role-based authentication, something. Or version 3 bulk update, encryption, authentication, username, password, communities.
Yeah, so SNMP version 2 will have the bulk updates, but there is no encryption and also no role-based access or no communities. SNMP version 3 does all of that. Okay. Sai Charan Takkela Party. What is Syslog and why it is used?
So Syslog is basically like a logbook. So it stores the system activities and log activities, and it stores up to 90 days and 6 months of the based upon the server size. It stores the logs for 90 days to 60 up to 66 months. Sorry.
Yep, Syslog server will gather the data and make sure that it is provisioning the data whenever is needed by the user. Okay. Sonayana, what are the different Syslog levels?
Yeah, there are eight different levels here. For level 0, it's emergency log. For level 1, it's alert log. For level 2, it's critical log. And for level 3, it's For level 3, it's error event log. And for error 4, it's warnings log. And for errors for level 5, it's notification log. And for level 6, it's informational log. And for level 7, it's debug log, sir.
Okay. Vinish Reddy Palla, sorry. What is FTP and why it is used?
Yeah, FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol, sir. It is used to transfer the file from router to server.
Yeah, it will just do a file transfer
Yeah.
between the devices.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, without any security. Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. I want to stop the recording there. 1 second.